Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 2 of the semifinals here. A matchup between Godde and Klon in the 1v1 tournament that's being organized by Drone. So once again, shout out to Drone. Thanks very much for putting this together. In the bottom right corner, we have Klon. He's morphing his commander already, and he is going with heavy tanks. Love to see heavy tanks. Can't wait to see what happens there. I'm guessing Panther spam. That seems to be the call of the day. In the upper left corner, we have Godde, who has morphed to his energy cell and beam laser, as usual, and he is playing light vehicles. So, we've got cars versus tanks. Love to see this matchup. Let's see how it goes. Godde has got his scouts out already, 3 darts, making a move towards the enemy in the bottom left. And so far, no units out from Klon, which is not too surprising. Heavy tanks take a while to build, and he is trying to build a Panther, and is going to get a Panther out just in time to take out a dart, maybe, if he can catch it. But at the very least, he chases the dart away, so that's good for him. However, there's more where that came from. Is getting a defender up, but is that defender going to have the range to really protect? And no, wow, a dart takes out the metal extractor, and that's going to set him back just ever so slightly. Meanwhile, that Panther is more or less being wasted on having to track down and chase down the darts. That's time that he could have spent advancing towards the enemy. So overall, very effective use of darts there by Godde, giving him just a slight advantage from the beginning, but in 0K, every advantage you get counts. A further swarm of darts coming out onto the field from Godde. Mostly just tons and tons of darts with one scorcher. So here we go. I think Godde's seen the factory. He knows he's up against heavy tanks. He knows he's up against Panthers, and so I think he's just going to try to harass it to death with a swarm of darts. Let's see how well that works out. Not so good so far. 1 shot, 1 kill from the Panther. Darts may not be the effective counter here. Maybe if they were all able to go in all at once, that might help. But as it is, if they're going in one at a time, at anything less than the reload rate for the Panther, then they are just going to get massacred. And Godde surely knows this, but he's still pouring out darts, so maybe he's going to try and get them all to do an attack on the Panther at once. And if so, I'm going to be very interested to see how that turns out. If he can actually do a mass attack such that the Panther has to waste shots while being picked to death by tiny little bolts of lightning or bolts of fire from the darts, maybe that'll work. I'd be curious to find out, and hopefully we're going to get to see it right here. Here we go. Darts swarming around the Panther, backed up by 1 Scorcher, and they take it down quite handily. In all honesty, though, the Scorcher was probably the main player in that, managing to get in real close while the Panther was occupied taking out darts and deliver the heat rays right up close and do a lot of damage to the Panther. Now, in the meantime, those darts and that Scorcher are still making a move on the base, getting in there, trying to take out the Welder, but the Welder is tough and has defenses of its own. Managing to get the darts, gets killed, not before taking out most of that invading force. That invading force is darts, and they are cheap, so there's plenty more where that came from. Another Panther coming up, taking out a couple of darts. Well, taking out 1 at a time, very slowly. So here you can see that the Panther is extremely effective against darts 1 at a time. Not so effective against them when they're massed up like that. And once again, Godde surely knows this because he is pouring out dart after dart after dart. Although he's shortly going to be switching to Scorchers, so maybe he's going to change up that strategy. In the meantime, Heavy Tank Factory. Units are big but slow to produce, and so far there's only 2 of them on the field, not counting the ones that have been killed so far, plus the Welder. The Welder almost counts as a unit all by itself because it is armed, it is tough, it can take care of small numbers of raiders that get up close to it, but the main units here, we've got a Kodachi and we've got a Panther. Let's see how effective those are going to be when they're massed against some of the lightest units in the game, the darts, plus 1 Scorcher. Now let's take a quick look at the economy. Fairly close, 21 to 18, 21 to 17. Godde is ahead by a little bit, but not by too much. Let's see. Let's look at expansion. So there is plenty of room here for Klon to expand in the south without running into a lot of resistance. Plenty of room for God to expand in the north. God's going to have an easier time of it simply because he has managed to draw the line of battle right there. So he's got a bigger chunk of the territory under his control. That means he's going to have an easier time capturing and holding mexes without having to constantly rebuild them or defend them. So the advantage right now is definitely in God's favor, but it's not convincing yet, and the tide could change. Let's see how this matchup goes. We've got a panther being swarmed. We got two panthers being swarmed by darts, trying to retreat, but one is taken out. So people have been talking about the panthers being overpowered. I'd have to say that, well, there seems to be a pretty good counter to them. So maybe they're not as overpowered as people have been talking about. Now, mind you, the balance has been changing a lot. They've been buffed and nerfed quite a bit in the past few days and weeks. So everyone is still trying to figure out just where they sit. But there's no doubt about where God sits right now. He sits on top of a pile of units. That is a massive units that's going to be able to get in there and concentrate on pretty much anything he wants and take it out. So God definitely has the advantage here. He's backfilling in those mexes. He's capturing them like crazy. Look at that economic gain, 33 to 21. Sorry, 43 to 23. I was looking at the energy, not metal. He has the huge metal advantage. He's got the unit advantage. He's got the unit composition advantage. He's basically got every advantage in the book. Now, he has just lost a ton of units, but he did it taking out the commander, so that was probably a pretty good trade. Right now, he just needs build power. If he throws another factory down, or if he throws some more caretakers, and it looks like he's going for caretakers. He's got one caretaker built already. He's building up another one with his construction unit, so he's just going to be pumping out the light vehicles. Scorchers and darts. Actually, it looks like now he's completely switched away from darts and is just building Scorchers. Scorchers moving in on the Panthers. Used to be that was a done deal for the Scorchers. They were simply toast against Panthers, but with the recent changes, maybe that's not quite so much a done deal anymore. As it is, they seem to be holding their ground pretty well. Well, and just as I say that, of course, they die. So that was largely because they were outnumbered. That was simply too many Scorchers for two Panthers to take on. So I have to say that this is probably the end of the game, and it looks like Klon agrees with me. GG, he says, and surrenders. And there is the game. There it is. So, congratulations, God. Victory is yours. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is Crazy Eddie saying good luck and have fun.